Welcome back. In this video, we'll look at instantiating our prefabs. So we've created our prefabs and we've put them in our resources folder. And just sort of to talk a little bit about that, the resources folder is basically a sort of a special folder that sort of mentioned that so it's like it says here, all assets that are in the folder named resources anywhere in the assets folder can be accessed via the resources.load functions. Multiple resources folders may exist, and when loading objects, each will be examined. So these ones are sort of built into the game, and like it says here, it allows you to find and access all the objects, including the assets. So basically, because we're not putting these into the game to start, we need to put them in. Okay, we need to put them in the resources folder. So what we're going to do is do a little bit more coding. And so what we need to do is on the I'm just sort of thinking the game manager this time, we need, because the game manager basically is going to select our piece. And so it has to randomly select a piece. So we're going to create a new method, okay, which is going to be a string, because it's basically going to select that random tetramino. So what I'm going to do is it's going to be a string, okay, and we're going to call it get random tetramino. All right, and so what we need here is first we're going to create an integer. So basically that's going to be our random tetramino, and you'll see how we do this in a second. And basically we have to select a number from 1, from 1 to 8, okay? And so this little thing here basically just picks a number between 1 and 8, okay? So it just randomly selects it. The next thing is what it's going to select, basically, is going to be a string value. And so we'll call that the random tetramino name. And we'll just populate it with 1 at the moment. So we'll populate with a tetramino, what did I call it? We'll do the T. Okay, tetramino T. Now you have to make sure these are spelled the same way, okay? Or else it won't be able to find it, because what it's going to do is in that resources folder, it needs to find that name, okay? And so this is a little bit of a different programming. We haven't seen this thing before. We're actually using a thing called a switch, and basically it's going to do the random tetramino, okay? So basically, based on this number here, okay, so random tetramino is just a number, so there's going to be a number in here. And so what it's going to do is you're going to create all these cases. And so basically you're going to have case 1, and then you say, well, in case 1, what's going to happen is the random tetramino name is going to be, and then we're just going to work our way through these. So tetramino T. Okay, and make sure you put those in quotes because it's a string. And then we put a break, okay, because that's the end. Now the next case, you just go case 2, and you do the same thing. So basically what I'm going to do is just copy this, and we've got our 8 cases, okay, 1 through 7. So I'm just going to copy this. I'm going to paste it, and I'm going to paste it, and I'm going to paste it, paste it. Now, I think I need one more. Okay, let's just see here. So we're going to have 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Oops, I miscounted. 7. So I'm just going to take those, and basically I need to make sure that I put all these ones in here. I might just bring up my ones there. JL long S, and long's capitalized. So just make sure. What was it? J L S. The order doesn't matter. Long. And what am I missing there? Square and Z. So square, I did it a little bit differently. I should have probably been a bit more methodical with that. NZ. So basically we have our 7 cases. And so at the end of these, now in that switch, we put that, we end it here. And now we do have to actually bring out we have to return something. We have to bring it out of this method here. So what we're going to do is return that random tetramino name. Okay, so basically, just sort of run through this again. When we call this method, which you could, like I said, it's kind of like a function. So when we call this, what it will do is it will select a number between 1 and 8. Okay, and actually, just to clarify that, the 7 or 8 is not actually included, so it's really between 1 and 7. You can read more up on that if you want in the random range, but it basically chooses a number between 1 and 7. Okay. We have to have some sort of string here to get this. So what it's going to do is when it switch, so whatever one it picks, whatever number it picks, if it picks 1, it's going to set the random tetramino name to tetramino t. Okay, so it will replace this if it has to. 2, it will do this one and so on. And then basically, as you break out of this, it's going to return that tetramino name. Okay, and I think I need one more. Yeah, I do need one more. Just there. So let's just save that and make sure we don't have an issue. Okay, the code isn't doing anything yet. Basically, it's just allowing us to randomly select, or allowing the computer to randomly select a piece. So now that we have our random tetramino, I'm just going to come back up here and create another method. And this one will actually sort of put or spawn it into the game. And so again, it's going to be public void. And so we'll call it spawn next tetramino. Okay. And so this one here, we basically have to say, what are we going to spawn? Well, we're going to spawn a game object. Okay. So what is it we're creating? Basically a game object. So next, we'll call this one next tetramino. Okay, so that's what our game object is called. And a little bit strange here, but we have to put game object. So we got to tell it what we're instantiating. Instantiate. So we've seen that before. Basically, it means create. And we're pulling it from the resources. So this is that folder. So load. And we're going to load based on whatever that method. We're going to run this method. The get random tetramino. So we're going to run that method and it will produce a string that will go in there. Okay, so that's the name of it. This requires that we state what it is again. It's a type of game object. And then we also have to put its location. And so for our game, it's going to be a new vector 2. And we're going to locate it at 5 and 20. And it's always going to be at that location. That's not randomized at all. It always starts basically the top center. And then the rotation we have to put in, so it's a quaternion dot identity. And that just keeps it with its native rotation, because it's always going to come in sort of at the same rotation there. Now I think quaternion, I'm missing something here. How am I doing this? I've got it's very long here, so just let me double check. So I've got game object, we close that up, instantiate, resources. Okay, resources dot load, get random tetramino. Oh, here we are. So called the function, but called the method, sorry, but I needed to close that up. Okay, so I think that might be okay, except for I need to close this method up. And so then that should get rid of that. Good. So let's just make sure there's no errors. There's a little bit more that we need to do, but I just like to put the code in and make sure nothing comes up. Instantiate takes 4 arguments. So I did mess something up in here. So instantiate. we've got 1, there's a comma, 2, 3, and 4. So what have I missed here? Just 1 second here. Sorry, my error was right here. These two need to be together because it's the type, what it's loading, and then the type that it is. So that actually needs to be the bracket there. So I think that should do it. Let's just go back and make sure. Okay, so we do have this next Tetramino is assigned, but its value is never used. That's because we're not quite through the code yet. The fact is we'll have this error probably through most of the game. It's sort of a little bit of an addition that if we get to it, we can use this next Tetramino. But don't worry, it's just a warning. Couple things. We need to just finish this up by actually starting by calling the spawn next Tetramino. Okay, and so this should get the game working, although I have a feeling we need to do one more thing. Oops, there we are. I'm going to hit play. Now an error does come up. The thing you want to instantiate is null. Let me just delete this one too. And so basically it's saying that it can't find whatever it's instantiating here. And the reason is that we didn't actually specify. We told it's in the resources folder, but it's actually in a subfolder in the prefabs folder. And so it's just not being able to find it. And so all we have to do is right here. We have to put in a folder structure. So we have to put in prefabs / Tetramino. So it's basically saying in the resources folder, find the prefabs folder, and then find something called Tetramino, whatever. So I'm just going to put those all in. Okay, just copying and pasting that prefabs, and I'm going to save that. I'm going to go back and hope that something shows up here. Okay, now it did a little bit above. I have to work on my spacing a little bit, but you can see it brought that one in. So that was a long one. Now, it should be moving fine, which it looks like it is. I think I have a few issues with the grid now and stuff, and I think I realized what I did. We'll fix that up later. But the key thing is that it's coming in. So let's just try a different one, see if we get a different one instantiated. Okay, good, we do. Okay, so that's a good sign. And then that one comes in, and then try again. Oh, we got the same one again, but it's random, so that's a possibility. Oh, good, a different one. You might want to just try it a few times just to prove to yourself that you are getting different Tetraminos being instantiated. All right, so the obvious problem is that it will fall to the ground here, but then it doesn't know to spawn another one. So what we have to do is basically, and it's not as easy of a problem as you might think, we have to have this, when it hits the ground, that we have to spawn the next one. But we also have to consider it's not always going to be on the ground. It's going to sort of collide and be a little higher up. So we have to think about how that's going to work. All right. So that's what we'll do in our next video. So make sure you save. I'll save that right now. I haven't saved for a while here. Save scene. And we'll see you in the next video.